Ankit, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm actually on my mobile. I'm trying to log in from my computer. You'll excuse me if there is no screen at the background because it is taking some time.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are just waiting for other people to join, and we'll be starting shortly. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the workshop. We are running a bit late. We will be starting in next 2 minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to all to the India Heart Slacking Care First Biannual IHL Care Study Report. Today we have with us three key panelists. First, we have with us Dr. Satyendra Goel. Dr. Satyendra Goel is the founder and CEO of India Health Link, a world's first consumer-centric health and wellness platform. He has spent 15 years in the healthcare ecosystem in various roles, including Chief Science Office at Calibra, a data intelligence company, medical school faculty at Northwestern University, and as an advisor to several healthcare companies. He has filed more than 10 patents and is a serial entrepreneur with focus on patient privacy technology startup. Then we have with us Dr. Muhammad Sadiq Azam. Dr. Muhammad Sadiq Azam is currently a consultant cardiologist at KIMS Hospital, Hyderabad. Dr. Sadiq completed his graduation from Meenakshi Medical College and Research Institute and post-graduation from Deccan College of Medical Sciences. He has completed his DNB Cardiology Interventional Cardiology Resistance Program under the National Board of Examination. And we have with us Ms. Nazneen Hussain, a senior dietitian in Mumbai. She started Freedom, a beginning to a healthy you, which is a lifestyle management center. She believes in the concept that you are you, and thus every program is personalized. Welcome to all panelists. At first, I'll request Dr. Mohammed Sadiq to put some light on the topic that we have taken up today, that Indian hearts lacking care. Dr. Sadiq, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Ankit, thank you so much for your kind introduction. So yes, I'm very grateful to the Heal Foundation for having me here as a panelist today, and this is a very relevant topic. In fact, it's probably one of the most important topics that we have to discuss in these days and times, because Indian hearts are, yes, they are lacking care, and probably the major reason for it is not a lack of healthcare facility, or a lack of any options and treatment available, but the mere fact that we feel ke अरे यार मुझे तो नहीं होगा. That is the commonest feeling amongst the youngsters के यार मैं तो बस 30-35 साल का हूँ. I'm just 30-35. ये बूढ़ों की बीमारी है. ये अभी हम जवान हैं, हमें तो नहीं होगा. So if you talk to a elderly person about fitness or about maintaining a heart healthy lifestyle, you will find that they are more receptive and they are more motivated towards doing it. Whereas when you compare that to the youth, they feel कि अरे अभी हमारी उम्र ही कितनी है, let us enjoy life a little, बाद में कर लेंगे exercise, कर लेंगे diet. uh, this is the time to enjoy smoking, tobacco, alcohol, drugs. I mean, this is the time when we can do it. What they don't realize is that ये जो this is the time we can do it का attitude है, that is what has led to so much of worsening of the cardiac care of a patient, that we are seeing people in 20s and 30s coming with major heart attacks. 29-year-old boys we have seen with an acute heart attack requiring a stent, going for bypass surgery at 29, 30. Imagine putting in a stent for a 30-year-old. I mean, agar ye, if you had looked at the similar condition 10 years back, you would probably say, कि, "अरे, I don't think it would have been necessary." But you can actually look at their blood vessels and you'll say, कि, "अरे, ये तो 30 साल के बंदे के blood vessels हो ही नहीं सकते." They're so badly damaged. There's so many blocks, so many clots. And what is the risk factor? Smoking. Are, why are you smoking? Don't you know it leads to heart disease? I am too young. I mean, I'm just 30 years old. How can this happen to me? The fact of the matter that first thing probably what we need to do is people need to understand and accept the fact that it can happen to you, it will happen to you, and it is happening to people around you. So it doesn't matter whether you're 30 or whether you're 60 or whether you're 70. You need to change your lifestyle, you need to maintain a healthy lifestyle, and you need to take care of your health. I mean, uh, every year probably once you, if you are working in a highly stressful job, or which most of us are, if you are doing something like 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, if you're crossing 30, you probably should get a yearly health checkup done. And you don't have to do anything invasive, just a regular healthy checkup once a year should be fine. Start a healthy lifestyle regimen, change your diet, try to stay away from fast foods, take out at least half an hour a day for yourself to do some kind of exercise, whether it's just walking for half an hour or jogging or even swimming or cycling to work. If you're not staying more than 2 3 kilometers away, you want to cycle to work, great. You want to take 3 days a week to do it, that's also great. But try to make exercise a part of your day-to-day life. That is something that is sorely lacking amongst the youth today, and that is probably one thing which has led to this sudden uptick in cardiac disease in our population.
Very well put in, Dr. Sadik. So, basis on the IHL has recently conducted a study, and I would request Dr. Goel if he can present the results of that study, and then we would like to take yours and Ms. Nazneen's perspective on that, those findings of those study. So, Dr. Goel, over to you.
Thanks, Ankit, and hello everyone. Thanks for arranging this particular panel. And Dr. Azam, you were absolutely right. And we have the data actually to just exactly show what you just alluded to. This particular study, India Heart's Lacking Care, basically done by the data which is collected by IHL over the years. So we have around 50,000 screenings done in a corporate setting. This is the study helps us understand the double trouble which we call obesity and hypertension that is contributing to this CVDs amongst the people, the working class people, the people who are going to offices. And I'll provide some facts, and pardon me, this is a data heavy presentation because we are only presenting the statistical facts here. So going just into looking at not only India, right, the CVD disease burden, and it's been studied over and over again in the world, that we came in the world from 1998 at a 31% to now looking at 2020, 85% of the CVDs burden is expected in the developing nations. India is one of them. And this CVD in India alone is going at the rate of the unprecedented rate of 130%, 120% amongst men and women in 2020 compared to what we see in 1998. The number of deaths, the mortality rate, just because that CVD prevalence is high, that's not alone the dangerous part of it. The mortality because of CVD is also going up on daily basis. So as you've seen, the mortality in India is predicted to be 100 to more than 100% in these times. And again, as Dr. Azam said, this is not about as people get older and then they get prone to these diseases. It's basically been seen in all ages, and young ages more so than previously seen in India. So I'll just the background and the objectives for this study. Let me just get this away. Okay, so the rising CVDs in the country amongst younger population, there are high chances of CVD disorders, and it is important to spread the awareness and the importance of making the desired lifestyle changes. Again, it's just not, it's all over the spectrum, that it's not about that you need to do a clinical test. You need to actually follow exactly what Dr. Azam said. You need to take care of your diet, you need to take care of your stress, and more importantly, you need to be educated and aware that what are the incidences, what are the factors which actually plays into this CVD disease disorder, the prevalence going up. To curb this incidence, the preventive diagnosis, which is not only physical, the digital, I think they both combined in the healthcare ecosystem are required to reduce the risk of diabetes, hypertension in metros, and to help Indian population take care of what we are saying, the heart's lacking care. The awareness of lifestyle disorder, including blood pressure, obesity, ECG, its prevention, treatment, and control for cardiovascular risk amongst the Indian population. So to publish the finding, the aim here is to publish the finding to mass media, to create the same awareness through as many channels as we can find. So just to give you an idea, the study was designed, we looked at respondents' demographics, geography, we looked at their gender, age, geography versus age, their BMI, BP, to be able to get to this, the results set we are presenting today. The scope here, we have taken the data from people who have taken the health checker. We have selected 4 metros, Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, Bangalore, to represent India as a whole. All the respondents, the test results are available on our portal. Each respondent was screened through automated diagnostic machine, IHL HPOD, and we have collected, they have gone through blood pressure, BMI, temperature, SpO2, ECG, etc. In that same sitting. The sample size which we have selected here is randomly selected around 1,500 respondents, and we have equally selected the number randomly in each segment, 300 plus in each of those 4 demographics. And having said that, the idea, there are several factors went into selecting this population, from 50 to 50,000 plus screenings available into our platform. The research methodology here for this particular data points, we have taken the test results from HPOD to create these into the data points for analysis. The HPOD, in addition to collecting the clinical data, also collected the basic information on individuals. The data was digitally downloaded and anonymized from an anonymized analytical portal. So within the privacy and security domain compliance, the gender and age data was collected with a random sampling method. The consenting respondents who were willing to take a test on IHL HPOD were selected for this research. So as I just mentioned, the sample size of around 1,500 users is almost equally distributed among these 4 geographies, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, and Chennai. Just to give you an executive summary from the research, the study covered 77% males and 23% females. Again, this was not a curated study. This was randomly sampled data from the IHL portal. The age bracket, we selected from young age below, the young age to all the way to 60 plus, and the 26 to 40. And the 2 prevalent age bracket, which are most important for the research and education here, is 26 to 40 and 41 to 60. And 46% of the pro-CVD risk cases in our study was in that particular age range, and 34% in the later age range. Mumbai and Delhi covers the most pro-CVD age bracket of 26 to 40, 65 and 48% respectively, while Bangalore just slightly behind Delhi at 41%, included the age bracket of 41 to 60. We have 16% of the younger population, less than 25 years, and a majority of that, 43%, is from Chennai. Now, just the findings combining BP and BMI, the one major fact which came out of all this study is there's a strong correlation between BMI scores and the BP risk, which is observed that the higher the BMI, the more the risk of BP, which means if you're obese and overweight, you have a higher risk of being at the higher BP, whether hypertension or not, but you're a higher risk of BP. And I'll just go one slide forward to give you an idea here what I'm talking about. So if you look into this particular chart, we on the vertical right side, the left side axis, we have BP ranges from normal, acceptable, at risk to higher. And on the top level, we have the BMI ranges categorized between underweight, normal, oversight, and obese. These categorizations are taken as the industry standard, published in most government portals. And what we have done is we have highlighted, the green highlights here are the highest percent number in that particular range and the category. So if you look into here, overweight and obese people also have the highest rate of the at risk and the blood pressure. So I go back. So not to go back and forth again, the high BP is seen most in Delhi, 23%, and followed by Mumbai 15%. And it is seen more in men, which goes up to 30% in Delhi, while maintaining at the same level in Mumbai at 15%. 30% of men in New Delhi and women in Mumbai are more prone to high BP, while both men and women in Bangalore are showing equal risk of the BP. Both risk age groups, 25 to 40 and 41 to 60, are at BP risk, which is common in men more than women. Again, what we are trying to emphasize here is the age is no bar when it comes to these lifestyle disorders like CVD, and we are finding the correlation, as Dr. Azam said, in all around factors, whether you take the demographics, whether you take the age ranges, whether you take the BMI levels. Same is the case with high BP, which is also prevailed most with men than women. However, in the age group of 60 plus, have higher stake with high BP in men than women with significant lead. So that was just the highlights of it. I'll also cover some of the individual highlights here. When we look at the tables, we look at here the BP classes categorized by geography. As I already mentioned, that if you look into Delhi and Mumbai, the high BP is 15 to 23%, versus at risk, Bangalore is at a very prominently, significantly higher level. Again, age ranges. Here, what we are prominently saying is, of course, the 41 to 60 and 60 plus, the at risk and high BP is higher. 76% of senior citizens and 52% of at high risk age group are having a high BP. Half of the pro risk age group, the 26 to 40, have normal blood pressure. The silver lining here is the 32% are at risk. What does that mean? Which means that we can still do something for them to stop going from at risk to high. But also the young population, the 25 years and younger, is also at high risk, at risk of high blood pressure to the extent of 33%, which is shown here. This is the comparison between the gender. We have a men versus women, and again looking at the BMI and the BP and the BMI together, we look at the acceptable high risk at high BP. So as mentioned, men have a higher prevalence than the women, as the data shows to us. This is again eluding the same fact. Generally, males are more prone to BP risk, have high blood pressure, whereas female to seen have a normal to acceptable level of blood pressure in certain ranges. So here, basically the same fact we are trying to elude if we go, and I'll cover at least one of the BMI chart as well alone. So in this study, the overweight is more common among males, while obesity is more prevalent among females. In general, men tend to be more proportionate in normal category, but we can see here the data is sampled and correlative to the ratio between 77 to 23%. And we see here the male are more overweight at around 80% level versus female, and obesity is higher amongst female. So finally, I'm going to repeat some of the facts which I just said to summarize this particular research. So the study covered 34% of the high-risk age group, 40 years or more, and 46% of the pro-risk age group, 26 to 40 years old. So the majority of population we have taken is from 26 to 40 years. Mumbai and Delhi cover most pro-risk categories with 65% and 48% respectively, against 34% of overall average. Bangalore covers high-risk categories the most. So which, having said that, the simple interpretation here, Mumbai and Delhi are definitely showing us the higher risk, and Bangalore is not far behind. And Chennai, what we just saw, is at risk for the under 25 age category. 77% of the study's participants are males and 23% are females. In Mumbai, a majority of men are covered, while in the other cities, it's a bit more or less the same ratio as in India as a whole. Several important insights have been revealed by the study, such as blood pressure affects 88% of males, 12% of the females. Delhi registered high blood pressure cases at 23%, while Bangalore registered at 43%, who are prone to BP risk, followed by Mumbai at 25%. Final slide, the key findings again. Among the high blood pressure cases, 77% are males as compared to 23% are females, which is exactly as per the sample breakup we have taken. Delhi and Mumbai have reported more high BP cases at 23 and 15% respectively, against the average of 13%. On the other hand, BP risk prevails in Bangalore the most, up to 43%. Again, the high 23 and 15% Delhi and Mumbai means they're already at a very high risk level, versus Bangalore, as that's the most representative young office-going people, at 43%, which can become chronic in the coming times if nothing is being taken care by them. The prevalence of obesity is highest among 60 plus age group, which is quite likely here, but 35% of pro-risk age group, 26 to 40 years old, and 41 to 60 years old are not far behind. They're 35 and 33% respectively. On the contrary, underweight is reported more among the young people, which is less than 25 years old, and the extent of 22% against an average of 6%. Majority of that population, again, is coming from southern part of India in Chennai. Delhi reported relatively more obese patients at 38% than other cities in the country, which are also in regime of 25 to 30, not that far behind, but Delhi is leading in terms of the obesity, which is a serious concern. In addition, Delhi and Bangalore reported more overweight patients, 50 to 47% respectively, and Chennai has more underweight people at 15% than the average 6% ratio. So in this particular research study, we can easily say that the idea here is we are not far behind than what has been globally seen. But this particular ratio is to make it very clear to these young office-going corporate people that they need to keep a watch on what do they do. And the time is today, and they need to take care of it today. And Dr. Azam very, very clearly alluded to that there are many factors which goes into controlling the CVD risk and the CVD, the becoming CVD a mortality. And those factors can be easily done just by knowing your own parameters and own stats. So I'll close with this data. I know it was too much of a data mishmash, and we will follow up with any question if somebody has. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Goel. I hope I am audible. Dr. Goel, before I move on to Dr. Azam, just one simple question. What was the socioeconomic background of the people whom you conducted survey, especially in the cities of Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai?
So all of these people are office-going corporate people. So they are obviously they are in metros. So they're in the service industry. Most of them are work in IT companies, and so that socioeconomically they are you can place them in a good category.
Okay, fine.
So they
Dr.
are
Azam, one question that has come to you is obesity. Dr. Azam, is that obesity and higher risk of a person being hypertensive? How much do you see of such cases in your day-to-day cardiology practice? Do you think that most people in younger age group do not go for BP checkup and hence the diagnosis is quite late?
Yes, actually, there is a significant correlation between obesity and blood pressure, obesity and diabetes, and obesity and premature coronary artery disease. Even though, it is more of your abdominal obesity, the truncal obesity that really matters, because that has been found to correlate with the amount of visceral fat that you have, which, as we all know, is a very important marker for coronary artery disease, especially premature CAD. And obesity is part of something that is known as metabolic syndrome, which is deranged lipids, a BMI, a higher BMI, and blood pressure, as well as impaired glucose tolerance. So there is a definite correlation, and we do find that in a significant proportion of obese patients, in fact more often than not, patients who are obese have blood pressures on the higher side compared to somebody who is of the same age, same gender, and everything else remaining the same. If you take a non-obese versus an obese person, the obese person is more likely to have a higher systolic as well as diastolic blood pressure, and that is mostly because of metabolic syndrome. And the good part in these patients is that once they get their weight under control, their sugars can get back to normal, their lipids will get reversed back to normal, and even their blood pressure comes back to normal. Another important correlation with obesity is that of sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is one of the emerging risk factors for cardiovascular disease, and it has been found that a significant proportion of patients with heart failure, significant proportion of patients with hypertension, which is resistant to treatment, is probably because of an association with uh, sleep apnea. So obesity is a very important risk factor, and that has to be looked at, because the obesity pandemic is only on the rise and it is yet to see its peak and fall.
I'll switch on to Ms. Nazneen. What are your thoughts, especially regarding the background of this, the survey that has been, the study that has been presented?
Okay, first of all, many congratulations to Dr. Satyendra. Actually, it was a very, very nice data. In our practice also, we see all of these things, but it's nice to have this completely objective data right in front of you. And I completely echo Dr. Azam's thoughts, because, when patients come to us, even just a simple drop of 1 or 2 kgs straight away helps in improving their blood pressure. So it's a direct correlation. The BMI, the blood pressure, the entire metabolic syndrome, it all moves together. Even a simple drop of weight helps in the sleep apnea also. So I think all of these are deeply connected, and a very important lifestyle management program. People need to adopt onto simple measures. You may not change drastically, but even small steps, like Dr. Azam said, increasing physical activity or switching over to whole grains. I think recently we have all started eating too much of refined food. And all this has been, where a lot of the diseases are actually sprouting out from. Our dependence on packaged foods, on very, very processed foods, are all increasing. High salt diets have become on a rise. High sugar diets have been on a rise. So all of this leads to increased weight, and that in turn increased blood pressure, and eventually we have a condition of elevated cholesterol and a whole lot of things like these. So I think it's deeply connected.
So you find this in your clinical background when you see patients also. I think it correlates to what the findings are.
Absolutely. And we see it in very, very young patients. Completely echo Dr. Azam. My youngest patient today was 25 years old. He's a IT person, very, very well placed from one of the IIMs, and high stress job, irregular sleep patterns. he is a fitness freak. So this is one of the things I'd like to say, that although in spite of the high stress level, he is a fitness freak, but he's also a foodie. So whatever fitness goes, it all goes in, the weekend eating, drinking, smoking, and they sleep very little. And I think people genuinely sleep very little, and that itself causes a lot of changes in the leptin, the ghrelin, and all the hormones suddenly start getting disrupted.
Dr. Goel, what was the objective behind this particular survey, and have you factored in, the rise in number of heart problems due to COVID?
Yes, so this is not a survey. Again, this is a study.
Study.
So basically, IHL have these devices all around India. So we people go and screen themselves. So our main motivation is people to know about their health the parameters at any time and anywhere they want to. Right? It's not something that they need to seek out a doctor. They need to feel sick to be able to know about their health. So we place these hatch pods in different settings. This particular study has been conducted, the sample was conducted on recency, the data which has been collected recently. And we have selected the sample, as I said, in the different demographics and specifically from the corporate offices where the people are working in the corporate class. And the idea was very simple that, we are seeing the trend. Again, by the way, I will just mention the trend what we have displayed today. It's maybe far worse than corporate going people all around the country. So it's not something which is only seen in this office going corporate folks. It has also been seen in general demographics in India. But this particular sample was restricted to that population to highlight that what is happening today in even the age groups which don't care, as Dr. Azam said, which don't know that they need to care. But what we're trying to say is that, you just need to know whether you take an action or not. That is a secondary. Our purpose as an IHL, as a company, we are foremost and the first principle, educate and awareness. Educate them about the disease issues which are happening in India, and then aware them about their own healthcare. So this gives them an idea and perspective whether they should take an action forward or not. If they don't take an action, as Dr. Azam said, something is going to happen, because this is the starting of obesity and hypertension. The stress is the start of every chronic disease you will account for. 99% of the diseases happen because of these two factors, obesity and hypertension.
There's a request from the media that can you show the the key findings of the study once more along with the slides, so that they want to go through it once more.
Sure.
Well, Dr. Satyendra does that. We actually call obesity as the emperor of all maladies. So it all originates from there. So I'm completely in agreement with the same.
Dr. Azam probably will speak to more than both of us can. The obesity and hypertension. These two things you have, I mean, what else can be telling? And these two things are controllable. The fact of the matter is, although they play the bigger role in becoming things chronic, but these are two things which can be controlled simply by lifestyle changes, and you can track them, right? You don't have to get them to take you to the level of as getting surgery done or even the event like the mortality. You can take care of these things today and just keep a check on it. It doesn't mean that you cannot eat healthy. It doesn't mean you cannot do certain things. It only means do it what your body allows you to do. Everybody is different. I will not be able to put people in the same category. It matters where you are, what you do. There is no, in my thinking, there is no one size fits all. Everybody is different. There's many factors, genetics included. So what we can do at the best is know about yourself, because you are unique. And then Ms. Nazrin, you also said that everybody is unique, right? So you can take care of yourself only by knowing about you. Just don't look at everybody else. Just know about yourself.
Yeah, Ms. Nazrin, there's a question for you. A lot of people are going for many forms of fasting to reduce weight. What's your advice to high BP patients about fasting, and how careful should they be?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, and today a lot of material is available on intermittent fasting and fastings for 12 hours, alternate days, or 5 days a week. You're okay, and 2 days a week you fast. So fastings are different kinds. Whilst there have been a lot of interesting science which shows that it can help you reduce weight and reduce blood pressure. However, the intermittent fasting is not for everyone. Yeah, one needs to personalize it. If your sugar levels are not under control, or you have a job which requires you to concentrate quite a lot, you may need to, or if you have a prakriti which makes you feel very very acidic, and you have frequent migraines and headaches, then definitely this intermittent fasting is not for you. So ideally you should consult a qualified dietitian, figure out what is your constitution. Don't just read everything, because there are different diets. Long term studies of every diet shows that it is the regular physical activity and the balance in food, which actually makes you feel good. So the look at ahead trial did various forms. They looked at calorie restricted diets, they looked at fasting diets, keto diets, paleo diets. At the end of 4 years, only those diets, calorie restriction definitely help, but overall eating healthy and increasing physical activity were the only two sustainable things which lasted at the end of 4 years. So short term ke liye people look for these solutions, but you need to look for something which is long term and something which suits your body.
Dr. Goyal, I'll come back to you with again a request. The journalists want the key findings to be again, and probably if you could read it out with some emphasis somewhere here and there, with which probably you found. So you can read it out so that the importance of the study would come. Probably apart from this, you could add one or two where you really found it very important.
Sure. So one of the major factor which we found here is that the correlation, the 77% to the 23%, which was the population mix we found from our study in the data which we had sampled, it matched very well with the breakup of the hypertension, the high blood pressure range which we found, which is also exactly the same at 77 to 23% ratio among male versus female. Here, we did look at 4 major cities, demographics: Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Chennai. But Delhi and Mumbai people, what we found, are at a higher risk, which means in the higher risk blood pressure category, versus Bangalore are into the at-risk category, which is a little bit lower than higher risk, but that is majority of the population, which means Bangalore has majority of the office-going people at as you can see, Bangalore is the IT hub. So Bangalore has the majority of the office-going people, which do need to take care of it, because they will become, if they're at risk today, at 43%, that population will become at high risk soon. The second key finding here is about the obesity. Obesity, we were able to correlate the fact, which is everybody probably would think about it, that 60 plus age group is the highest. We do find it highest at 42%, but the age group which is right behind that, between 26 to 40 and 41 to 60, that's also at 35%, 33%. So it's just not a very significant difference. So between 40, just a 5 to 7% lower than a person at 60 plus age. And this obesity, as all panelists are agreeing to, obesity does become the cause of all chronic diseases. And obesity is the highest amongst these population. And one key factor which is also here, which probably nobody talks about, is the underweight. The underweight issue is also found in Chennai most prominently, on an average 15%, which should be much lower than that. So underweight is also a problem. It's not just the overweight, because the extremes, they both play into the health of individuals. And finally here, again, the Delhi reported relatively more obese patients, 38%, than other cities in the country, which are also not far behind 25 to 30% range. And again, it's a very serious concern. Delhi and Bangalore reported overweight patient at 50 to 40% respectively. Finally, Chennai, same thing as I mentioned, is at 15% compared to average of 6%.
Thank you, Dr. Goyal. I'll now move on to Dr. Azam. Dr. Azam, what are your thoughts on this particular very important study that Dr. Goyal has presented? Dr. Azam?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to commend Dr. Goel for a wonderful study, and I'm pretty sure it will have a very good impact amongst the general population also, because we are very used to yeah, even though this has been the era of evidence-based medicine for quite some time. Now we are at the era where everybody wants proof, everybody wants to see the numbers.
Once again, Dr. Azam, I think I request Dr. Goyal to stop sharing the screen so that we can see Dr. Azam completely.
So
thank you.
yeah, we are at the era where everyone wants to see numbers, everyone wants to see proof, evidence, and I think this is something that we can tell patients, we can show them this data, we can quote this study, and that will probably have a much bigger impact than just me telling my. I mean, as a clinician, I can think that if I tell a patient that you are at a percentage risk for developing heart disease, provided you don't cut off these risk factors from your life, versus me telling him that, look, as per this study, this was done in the Indian population, this was done in our country amongst various age groups, and you're falling in this age group, you have these risk factors. So based on that, your risk for developing heart disease is this percent. And in fact, this data can probably be used to even develop probably a risk stratification score or something like that, which we can employ on an outpatient basis, which we can employ on an outpatient basis when interacting with our patients, and so that we can actually drive the point home. We do have a lot of such stratification tools from the American College of Cardiology, the ACCHA, the ADA, etc. But then that's all Western data. That's all data from Europe and other countries. So this is our own data. This is probably one of the first of its kind, a very in recent times, and in a very apt time they've come up with this study, and I'm sure it will make a very good impact for a clinical practice. And I really hope that Dr. Goel and his team extrapolate this data and helping us to make a tool or an app or something that in which we can actually put in the patient's risk factors, and on the basis of this study they can tell us that how much percentage risk the patient has, and we can actually show that to them, or they can even install it in their own smartphones, put in their numbers, and then they'll get their data. And as they modify their risk factors, they can see how their risk is actually changing dynamically with time. So I really commend the team and applaud them for this wonderful study. It's definitely going to be a game changer going forward.
Before I move on to Dr. Goel, I'd like to have a common question from between you, Mr. Azam, and Ms. Nazneen. All the infotech parks, all the high-tech IT industries come with a package of burgers and pizzas. It's very difficult. You have a techno park, you have a pizza park, you have a burger park, and that's the dangerous link. Now, how do you think that this can be disconnected?
See, one thing is, I mean, if I'd like to take the question first, if Madam doesn't mind, even though it's traditionally ladies first, I'm sorry. So I think see, technically, the thing is that these are things we can't really avoid. If I tell my patient, don't have burgers, don't have pizzas, don't have soft drinks, he'll probably change the doctor rather than changing his diet. at the end of the day, that's the truth. So I always tell patients that it's all about balance in life. You cannot say that I will not do anything fun and I will be serious all the time, or you cannot say that I'm only going to have fun, I'm never going to be serious. Similarly, it comes in diet also. There is always there has to be a balance. If, for example, somebody consumes fast foods or calorie rich diet, then you can probably skip your next meal or take a lighter meal, take fruits or something that helps you balance. So there is a concept of total calorie intake in 24 hours, and you try and taper your meals around that total calorie intake so that you don't cross that total threshold. At the end of the day, too much of anything becomes good for nothing. That's something my pharmacology professor told me when I was back in my MBBS days. He said there's no such thing as poison. It all depends on the dose. So even cyanide, which is the deadliest of poison, we use it medically in the form of potassium cyanide, some drugs where it is a essential component. So it is all about balance. So if you have you're going for a get together, you have fast food served over there, you have burgers and pizzas available there. It's not that you say no, 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 I'm not going to eat anything. Of course, you go out with friends, you have parties, you have functions, you have weddings. Your calorie intake will be higher, but try to balance that out. Try to burn off those calories or try to reduce your other meals. As long as you're doing that, I think you should be fine. Of course, if you are hypertensive, then keep a real careful watch on this, because these burgers, pizzas, and fast foods, they contain a lot of salt and they contain a lot of refined sugars. So these are two things that are really bad for somebody suffering from metabolic syndromes. That is something that you have to keep an eye out for. Otherwise, once in a while, it should be fine as long as your total calorie intake is okay. I think Madam can add more to that.
Thanks so much for those comments, Dr. Azam. I completely agree. We actually train our people to kind of, understand everyday foods and sometimes foods. So we say at least 85% of the times you eat like your everyday foods, which is healthy. Then 15% of the times it can be some indulging food, and that is all right. But I think your question specifically was for the IT parks, and I'd like to reiterate that when I was in the US and went to the Google and Facebook, their main offices, it was interesting because there were some lounges which emphasized so much on fruits and vegetables, and they had these fancy fruit smoothies and vegetable smoothies, and a lot of emphasis on healthy eating also. So I think today a lot of trends are changing, and so if the youth actually look up to more trending things, even healthier food can be made fun. So one, that people need to break this myth that healthy food is not fun. So that's and because we have a lot of media out here, I'd like to get this message very, very loud and clear that it can be fun, it can be a lot more. So and there are direct correlations actually, especially for fruits and vegetables. Whilst we keep talking about refined foods and junk foods, some of the basic mistakes which we have also done is the intake of fruits and vegetables over the years has drastically gone down. So because of it, our phytochemicals, our antioxidants, our lycopene factor, all the flavonoids also have dropped. And in fact, there are researchers which straight away show that if you increase fruits, the CRP level comes down. If you increase fruits and vegetables, both the interleukin 6 level comes down. If you increase only vegetables, the TNF alpha level comes down. So there is a lot of evidence to show that all of these are directly, impacted. So the approach I like to take with most of my people is tell them what to eat. Eventually, what to not eat, they already know. But when you give them the right things like the nuts, the seeds, the fruits, the vegetables, they automatically feel okay. And then once in a while, indulgence is fine. So that's
I think as Madam says, we need to actually tell people what they can eat. Because very often you see they go to the doctor and the doctor is like, ye mat khao, ye mat khao, ye mat khao, ye mat khao, and then they're like, they immediately it's like complete depression. So instead you tell them what are the things they can eat. In fact, there's so much more you can eat than what you can't eat. And as Madam rightly puts it, healthy foods can really be fun too. They can really be very tasty alternatives too. And once you make that part of your habit, you will probably never want to go back to those oil rich heavy burgers and pizzas again. It'll become a part of your life. And yeah, I think we should start by telling people what to eat. That's a wonderful point, Madam.
In fact, even the fat guidelines across the world have changed. So initially when people would come to us as dietitians, they'll say, "Arey baap re, boil khana milega, tel ghee ban kar denge." But today we do allow a lot of healthy fats. In fact, 30% of the diet is healthy fats. So it can still be very tasty and very satiable, and you use nuts, seeds, healthy oils, and I think that should be really good to go.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately it boils down to your, the thought process or the mind that, that controls. As somebody has said, what is temporarily on your lips is permanently on your hips. So I think that is a major problem that, comes across. And unless one has self-restraint, it will be very difficult. And to have self-restraint in this particular group of youngsters is something that we need to inculcate, as what you said, show what is healthy rather than say, don't eat this. That will be better. Before I conclude, I would like to ask Dr. Goel a question. What is your next big survey?
What's the, sorry?
What's your next big study?
See, our next big study is, Dr. Azam already said, I will point out two things. One, we have IHL Care app, anybody can download, and we're building something called Health Journal is there, so people can log in whatever they eat, what do they do on daily basis. And now we're introducing exactly the same fact. They can actually do the cardiovascular risk or heart health meter, what we call, so that they have it in their hand. Secondarily, our main principle is the science is very crude, right? The science is very crude, and there is not a single factor which can play into these particular kind of diseases. So what we are trying to emphasize on, that we want you to make aware of yourself, right? So with these particular devices which we have introduced, the apps which we introduced, we want every individual in India to start to know about themselves. If you know about yourself, then whether you go eat a burger or you go eat a nut, not everything is basically scientifically true. Again, it's not a one size fits all. But if you know about yourself that this is bad for you, this is good for you, the decision is yours, right? And you can very well decide. Our main motivation is that can every Indian be informed and aware of their health. That's single most goal and aim of India Health Link. Is our next study. We have 50,000 users today. I think the next study we'll be releasing with 1 million users in India.
I think that is wonderful. The time is running out, but I think a wonderful study and wonderful inputs from Dr. Azam and Ms. Nasreen. Wonderful seeing both of you. I think you've come on the platform before. All three of you, of course, have come on this particular platform. So it is as good as being at home. So thank you very much. Thank you for this wonderful webinar and study. On behalf of Heal Foundation, I thank Dr. Goel, Dr. Azam, and Ms. Nasreen for this wonderful session that we had today. I hope the journalists enjoyed, and I also thank all the journalists who attended this online, and also the public who had attended online. Thank you very much, and good day to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
Thank you.